Captain Mara Vey stood on the bridge of the starship Resolute, staring at the swirling colors of hyperspace through the viewing pane. The calm hum of the ship's engines filled the air, steady and reliable like the heartbeat of a living creature. Around her, crew members moved between stations, speaking in quiet voices, checking scanners, adjusting readings. They were traveling to the colony of Illyria, a peaceful world on the edge of explored space. Illyria was known for its clear skies, silver-blue oceans, and wide green plains. Families had built homes there, and children played under twin suns. For years, it had been a symbol of humanity's courage to build something new far from Earth. No one expected trouble. But trouble was coming. Far from human sensors, a fleet of alien warships cut through the void. Their hulls were dark and sharp-edged, bristling with weapons that glowed a sickly yellow. They belonged to the Zeran Dominion, a powerful empire that had watched humanity spread with growing resentment. The Zeran saw the colonies not as hopeful new worlds but as prizes, rich in minerals and fresh water. The Zeran Council had debated for months. Some wanted to trade. Others demanded war. In the end, ambition won. They decided to strike suddenly before humans could gather strength. The first target, Illyria. As the Resolute neared the colony, an urgent signal flashed across the bridge. "Captain," said Ensign Darren, his voice tight, picking up distress calls from Illyria. "Multiple transmissions, chaotic. I'm getting words like attack and evacuation. Something's wrong down there." Mara's jaw tightened. "Put it on speaker." The bridge filled with desperate voices. "Under fire, unknown ships. Whole sky is burning, requesting defense. Anyone, please." Then static swallowed the rest. "Status of local defense?" Mara asked. Lieutenant Kira, the tactical officer, shook her head. "No sign of their defense satellites. It looks like they've been destroyed." Mara felt a cold weight settle in her chest. Illyria had been peaceful, with only light protection. Whoever was attacking wanted to crush resistance quickly. "Helm," she ordered. "Maximum speed. Prepare medical bays. We may have refugees." The Resolute dropped out of hyperspace, and the view ahead made everyone fall silent. Illyria floated against the stars, but its once bright skies were scorched with smoke. Fires dotted the land like angry red eyes. Above the planet hung a formation of alien ships. They were sleek and predatory, moving with terrifying precision. Now and then, one fired a pulse of yellow energy toward the surface, leaving glowing scars on the world below. "By the stars," whispered someone on the bridge. Mara forced her voice steady. "Shields up. Send a signal to the attackers. Demand they identify themselves and cease fire." "Signal sent," said Kira, but there was no reply. Instead, a small squad of enemy craft peeled off from the main group and headed straight for the Resolute. "They're locking weapons," Darren said. "Evasive pattern Delta," Mara ordered. "Return fire. Aim to disable, not destroy." The Resolute spun gracefully as bolts of energy streaked past its hull. Its own cannons barked back, scoring hits on one attacker. The alien fighter spiraled away smoking. But more ships closed in, their formation tightening like a noose. "Captain," Kira called out, "there are too many. We won't hold long." Mara clenched her fists. She wanted to help the colony. But if the Resolute was destroyed, no one would warn the rest of humanity. "Plot a course for the far side of the planet," she said. "We'll collect as many survivors as we can." On the surface of Illyria, chaos reigned. Colonists ran through fields and narrow streets, clutching children, dragging supplies. Shuttles tried to lift off from landing pads, but some were cut down by precise strikes from orbit. Among the fleeing civilians was Dr. Leon Torin, a scientist studying ancient ruins buried under Illyria's soil. He sprinted toward a shelter with a heavy case in his arms, dodging falling debris. Inside the case was a small cube of polished stone, etched with unreadable markings. He had found it only a week ago, deep underground. Something about it had felt alive. Now as the skies burned, the cube pulsed faintly, as if responding to the violence above. Leon paused, heart pounding. The cube's light was soft but steady, glowing from within like a heartbeat. He shoved it back into the case and kept running. Back in orbit, Mara guided the Resolute through wreckage and smoke. They intercepted a crippled transport drifting near the atmosphere. Boarding teams brought aboard dozens of frightened colonists, their faces streaked with ash. One survivor, a young officer from Illyria's security force, managed to speak through trembling lips. "They came out of nowhere," he said. "No warning, just fire from the sky. Did they make demands?" Mara asked. He shook his head. Nothing. Just attack. Mara exchanged a look with Kira. This wasn't conquest through negotiation. It was a purge. Another signal interrupted them. Captain, sensors show unusual energy readings from the planet's surface, reported Darren. Localized near the northern plains, right under the invasion zone. Define unusual, Mara said. It looks old, Darren replied. Deep signatures buried miles down. Whatever it is, it's waking up, Mara frowned. Could it be a weapon? Not like anything I've seen, he said quietly. Below, Leon Torin reached the shelter, but an explosion tore through the entrance just as he stepped inside. He was thrown back, the case slipping from his grip. The cube rolled free, glowing brighter now. Dust and smoke swirled around it, and Leon thought he heard a faint humming sound, like a chorus of distant voices. He crawled toward the artifact, clutching it to his chest. A question rose unbidden in his mind. Had their digging awakened something best left alone? The battle raged. The Resolute dodged enemy volleys, scooping up escape pods when possible. Mara's crew worked with grim focus, but tension weighed heavy on them all. Suddenly, the alien fleet shifted formation. Large ships descended closer to the planet as if preparing for a final strike. Captain, Kira said, if they fire on Illyria's settlements again, there won't be anything left. Mara's mind raced. She couldn't defeat the entire fleet, but maybe she could buy time. Open a channel, she ordered. This is Captain Mara Vey of the United Earth ship Resolute, she said, voice firm. You are attacking a civilian world. Cease fire immediately or face retaliation. For a moment, only static answered. Then a harsh mechanical voice filled the speakers. Human ship, it said, clipped and cold. This territory now belongs to the Zarin Dominion. Withdraw or be destroyed. Mara's eyes narrowed. We don't abandon our people. The channel went dead. Captain, Darren warned. They're powering main cannons. Brace for impact. A searing blast grazed the Resolute, shaking the deck. Panels sparked. Alarms wailed. Shields at 60%. Kira shouted. Get us out of their line of fire, Mara said. The ship dove toward the atmosphere, skimming the edge of Illyria's clouds. Enemy fighters followed, their weapons flaring. As the Resolute weaved between them, Darren gasped. Captain, those strange energy readings are spiking. Massive surge from the northern plains. On the main screen, the surface seemed to ripple. Bright lines of blue-white light traced across the land like veins. They converged at a single point near a cluster of hills. The same place where Leon Torin had been digging. What is that? Kira whispered. Before anyone could answer, a low vibration rolled through space itself, as though the stars were holding their breath. On the ground, Leon staggered to his feet. Around him, the earth trembled. The cube in his hands pulsed faster, each beat echoing through his bones. A vast crack split the plains, sending dust high into the air. From the darkness below came a faint glow, and with it a sound, not words, not music, but something older, deeper, like the first whisper of a storm. Colonists nearby froze, their fear momentarily overtaken by awe. Leon felt a strange calm settle over him even as the world shook. He looked down at the cube. Its light matched the glow from the fissure. Whatever lay beneath Illyria had been sleeping for a very long time, and now it was awake. In orbit, the Zarin ships hesitated, scanning the strange phenomenon. They had come to crush a young race, to take land and resources. They had not come prepared for this. Mara stared at the display, her instincts prickling. Something about the readings didn't feel like a weapon. It felt alive. Pull us back, she said quietly. I want distance between us and that energy field. As the Resolute retreated, the alien fleet closed in on the glowing plains below, perhaps thinking to seize or destroy whatever was stirring. But the light spread faster, racing across valleys and mountains, outlining hidden shapes beneath Illyria's crust, vast forms slumbering in stone and ocean. Mara watched the readings spike again. She had no idea what was happening, but one thing was clear. The invaders had triggered something far beyond their control. Her hand tightened on the arm of her chair. All hands, she said, voice steady despite the tension in her chest. Prepare for the unknown. Through the viewport, Illyria's surface blazed with pale fire, and deep below, something ancient stretched toward wakefulness. The attack on humanity's colony had opened a door that no one, neither human nor alien, understood. And somewhere in that rising glow, an unseen presence stirred, patient and powerful, waiting for the moment to reveal itself. The night side of Illyria glowed faintly where fires still burned. From orbit, the Resolute floated at a cautious distance, its crew silent as they watched the pale blue light spreading across the planet's northern plains. Captain Mara Vey stood with her hands clasped behind her back. Her eyes never left the images on the main display. The strange light moved like veins through the land, connecting hills, rivers, and ocean shores. It was not random. It looked like a pattern, old, deliberate, and alive. Status? She asked quietly. Lieutenant Kira, scanning her console, spoke without looking up. Readings remain high, Captain. No sign of weapon signatures. It doesn't act like a bomb. Ensign Darren turned from his station. If anything, it feels organized, like something waking up and testing its systems. Mara frowned. The thought made too much sense. And the Zarin? They've pulled back a little, Kira said. Still in orbit, watching. I think they're just as confused as we are. Mara nodded slowly. Confused enemies were dangerous. They might panic and fire on whatever was rising beneath the planet's crust. Open a private channel to command, she ordered. Send everything we've recorded. Flag it as high priority. Yes, Captain, Darren said. Down on Illyria, Dr. Leon Torn crouched behind a collapsed wall. Dust coated his face and his hands clutched the strange cube he had found in the ruins. The artifact still pulsed with soft light, steady and calm, as if it belonged to the glow spilling from the cracked earth nearby. All around him, survivors huddled in silence. The alien bombardment had stopped for now, but fear hung heavy in the air. Some stared at the spreading fissure, others at the sky where Zarin ships circled like predators waiting for the right moment to strike. A woman whispered, "What's happening? Is the ground going to split?" Leon shook his head, though he had no real answer. Something deep under the planet is moving, he said quietly. I don't think it's a quake, it's aware. The people near him looked at the glowing cube, then at his face. Is that thing causing it? One man asked, pointing. I don't know, Leon replied. I only know the energy from the fissure matches what's inside this cube. Maybe it's a key. Maybe it's a warning. He looked back toward the shelter entrance, now blocked by fallen debris. Escape would not be easy. On the Resolute, Mara gathered her officers in the briefing room. A map of Illyria hovered above the table, showing bright lines running across the northern hemisphere. This pattern, Kira said, tracing the lines with her finger, matches no known defense grid or mining network. It's too old, too complex, Darren added. And the energy signature isn't chemical or fusion-based. It's organic, like a living system. The word made everyone pause. You're saying it's alive? Mara asked. Not exactly, Darren said, frowning. Maybe not alive in the way we understand, but it behaves like something that can react. Mara leaned on the table, eyes thoughtful. If this is some kind of guardian or hidden technology, we need to understand its purpose. If the Zarin think they can control it, they'll get us all killed. Kira looked uneasy. What if it sees us as threats too? That's a risk, Mara said. But we can't stay blind. We need answers. In Zarin command ship Vrel's Edge, Admiral Karvik studied the same phenomenon. The pale glow troubled him, though he would never admit it to his officers. He had led many campaigns, crushed many worlds, but Illyria was different. The ground itself seemed to reject their presence. Analysis, he barked. His science officer bowed slightly. The energy appears older than the planet's current crust. It originates from structures buried kilometers deep. We believe they predate human settlement by thousands of years. Karvik's mouth twisted. Are you suggesting this colony hides a weapon? Not built by them, Admiral, the officer replied. Perhaps by whoever shaped the world before either of our species arrived. Karvik's spines bristled. Whatever it is, it will not stop us. Prepare ground teams. I want the source claimed. Back at the northern plains, the fissure widened, revealing glimpses of smooth stone beneath layers of rock. Faint symbols glowed along its edges, their curves strange yet graceful. Leon watched, fascinated despite his fear. The patterns on the stone looked like those carved into his cube. He pressed his palm against the artifact, feeling a gentle warmth. Maybe it wants to talk, he murmured. A boy crouched nearby, clutching his father's sleeve. Is it going to hurt us? Leon forced a calm smile. I don't think so. But we need to stay back. Give it room. The ground trembled again, but this time it was not violent. It was steady, like the beat of a massive heart. Mara received another report from the surface. Refugees gathering near the fissure, waiting for rescue or hiding from alien patrols. She knew the Resolute could not stay in orbit forever. "Helm," she said. "Prepare a shuttle. I'm going down." Kira's eyes widened. "Captain, that's too dangerous. The Jaren are still nearby." "All the more reason to understand what's happening," Mara replied. "If that thing down there can defend itself, or us, we need to know before the enemy makes a mistake." Within minutes, a shuttle detached from the Resolute and glided toward the planet. The Jaren made their own move. Dropships streaked from their flagship, landing near the glowing fissure. Soldiers in dark armor fanned out, scanning the terrain with heavy rifles. One officer pointed at the crack. "Report to command. Structure located. Beginning excavation." They approached cautiously, unaware of the silent watchers among the ruins. Lian and other colonists hid, holding their breath as the aliens drew closer to the opening. Mara's shuttle landed a few kilometers from the fissure. She stepped out into cool air that smelled faintly of smoke and scorched earth. Kira had insisted on joining her, along with 2 security guards. The ground felt alive under their boots, vibrating softly. From here, the fissure's light was clear, shimmering like moonlit water. "Keep eyes open," Mara said, scanning the horizon. "The Zaren won't like us here." They moved carefully through broken terrain, heading toward a cluster of survivors waving from behind a low ridge. Leon stood among them, relief washing over his face when he saw human uniforms. "Over here!" he called quietly. Mara approached, noting the cube in his hands. "What's that?" "I found it in the ruins," Leon said. "It responds to the same energy in the ground. I think it's connected." Mara studied the artifact, its soft glow reflected in her eyes. "Whatever this is, it doesn't seem hostile yet." A loud crash interrupted them. Across the plains, Jaren soldiers were setting up equipment around the fissure, their voices sharp and commanding. "They're digging," Kira said. "Trying to break through." Mara's gaze hardened. That could be a mistake. The alien teams drilled into the stone layer, ignoring the warning tremors. As their tools struck the smooth surface, the light underfoot pulsed brighter, almost angry. Leon clutched the cube tighter. "They shouldn't do that," he whispered. "It feels wrong." Mara raised her communicator. "Resolute report, any change in readings?" Darren's voice came back, tense. "Energy spike detected, big one. It's reacting to something." "Pull the shuttle back to standby altitude," Mara ordered. She kept her eyes fixed on the aliens at the fissure. Admiral Karvek received word of resistance from below. "Proceed," he ordered. "If it is a guardian, we will tame it. If it is a trap, we will crush it." But as the words left his mouth, a deep rumble shook the land. Light burst from the crack, rising like a fountain of stars. Jaren soldiers staggered back, shielding their eyes. A voice, not spoken but felt, rolled across the plain. It was neither human nor Zaren, but vast, like wind through stone. Everyone froze, struck silent by the sound. Mara felt the vibration through her boots, through her bones. Kira whispered, "Did it just speak?" Lian nodded slowly, awe written on his face. "I think it did." The light formed shapes above the fissure, sweeping arcs, circles, and branching lines as if some giant was drawing in the sky. The patterns shifted, then froze, leaving behind a map of sorts, a starfield. "Dotted with symbols, it's showing us something," Mara said. "Or warning us," Kira replied. The Jaren commander barked an order, and soldiers aimed weapons at the glowing fissure. "Stop," Mara shouted across the distance. "Don't fire! You don't know what you're dealing with." But the aliens ignored her. Bolts of energy slammed into the stone. The response was instant. The light flared blindingly bright, and a column of pale fire shot skyward, throwing Jaren soldiers off their feet. Their weapons scattered uselessly across the ground. From deep inside the planet came a low, resonant hum, growing louder, richer until it filled the air like a song. On the Resolute, alarms blared as the ship's sensors lit up. "Captain, we're detecting massive movement beneath Illyria's crust," Darren reported. "Something huge. No, several things. They're rising." "Rising?" the officer at navigation echoed. "Yes," Darren said. "And they're big, bigger than our ship." The fissure widened again, revealing glimpses of smooth, curved shapes far below. Structures or bodies, no one could tell. Mist poured out, curling around the edges. The mist shimmered with faint colors, shifting between silver and blue. Leon's cube vibrated in his hands. He felt a steady rhythm like breathing. Mara looked at him. Does it feel alive? He nodded. Yes, and it doesn't like being disturbed. The Jaren regrouped, preparing to fire again. Kira, Mara said quickly, get these people behind cover. If that thing reacts, we don't want to be standing out here. They ushered the colonists behind a ridge as the first dawn after the attack came slowly over Illyria's scarred plains. A soft mist clung to the ground, glowing faintly where the strange lights from the fissure still pulsed. The air felt heavy as if the whole world was waiting. Captain Marave stood at the edge of a ridge with her team. Below, massive shapes towered over the land. They had emerged from the planet's crust during the night, giant beings of metal, stone, and something that looked alive. Their glowing markings flickered gently like breathing. Even from a distance, Mara could feel their quiet power. They were still, yet the air around them hummed with energy. They looked neither friendly nor hostile, only watchful, like guardians who had been asleep too long. Beside Mara, Dr. Leon Torin cradled the cube he had found in the ruins. Its soft light matched the symbols on the creatures' bodies. He stared at them with wide eyes. They're not just machines, he whispered. There's something more. Kira, standing near him with her rifle ready, shook her head in amazement. I can't believe they were under us all this time. They were buried to wait, Leon said. Waiting for something, or someone, Mara added quietly. Above, Jaren ships hovered in tense silence. Their dark hulls reflected the rising sun, making them look like jagged pieces of night sky. Inside the flagship Vral's Edge, Admiral Karvek watched the scene through a massive viewing screen. He felt a flicker of unease, though he hid it behind a rigid posture. The creatures were larger than any craft he had ever commanded. They did not seem to notice the ships, but Karvek sensed they could destroy them in moments if they wished. Report, he said. A technician replied. The energy field around the creatures is stable. It's shielding them from scans. Another officer added, Ground forces request instructions. They are holding position, waiting for clearance to resume excavation. Karvek's spine stiffened. He could not allow ancient relics to challenge the Dominion's power. Tell them to prepare weapons, he said coldly. We will test these guardians. If they resist, we will remind them who commands the stars. On the surface, Mara saw the Jaren soldiers adjusting their gear near the fissure. She recognized the tension in their movements. They're going to provoke them, she muttered. Leon looked alarmed. If they attack, the creatures might see everyone as enemies. Mara glanced at Kira. Keep the colonists back. Whatever happens, we don't want civilians caught between them. Kira nodded, signaling the survivors to stay hidden behind rocks and broken walls. Some clutched one another, whispering prayers or silent hopes. The cube in Leon's hands grew warmer, its glow steady. He tilted it, noticing faint etchings that had not been visible before. They looked like lines of script, curling and flowing like water. He brushed his fingers over them. For a moment, he thought he heard a voice faint as an echo. Protect. God, defend. Leon's heart pounded. Were the creatures trying to speak through the cube? The largest of the guardians stirred. Its head, shaped like a smooth crest of silver stone, turned slightly. A ripple passed through its markings. Then a low tone rolled across the plain, not loud but deep enough to vibrate in every bone. Everyone froze. The sound was calm, almost like a greeting. Jaren soldiers raised their rifles nervously. Their leader barked an order, and several aimed at the creature's chest. Bright charge lights flared on their weapons. Don't shoot! Mara shouted across the distance, her voice echoing. Stand down! But her words could not reach Jaren Pride. Bolts of yellow energy shot out, striking the guardian's side. Sparks scattered against its glowing plates, leaving no mark. The creature did not attack at once. It tilted its head as though puzzled by such small defiance. Then the ground shook. A circle of pale light spread from the guardian's feet. The shockwave tossed alien equipment into the air and sent soldiers tumbling. Yet the humans behind the ridge felt only a gentle push like wind. It spared us, Kira breathed. No, Mara said softly. It's choosing targets. High above, Karvek watched the exchange. Interesting, he murmured. It discriminates between enemies and others. That means it can be reasoned with or controlled. But as he spoke, more guardians rose from the soil. One resembled a coiled serpent made of metal scales. Another spread vast wings of crystal that caught the sun. A third was tall and thin, with limbs that shimmered as though woven from liquid glass. They gathered in a circle, their lights joining in a slow pulse. "They're forming a perimeter," Darren reported from the Resolute's orbit. "Captain, readings suggest they're linked somehow, like a single system." Mara's voice came steady through her communicator. "Keep monitoring, Ensign, and stay ready to pull us out if they change their minds about humans." Back on the ground, the first Guardian raised one massive limb and set it gently beside the fissure. A panel of stone slid aside, revealing a dark opening that led deep below. Warm light spilled out, illuminating stairs carved into rock. Leon stared at it, then at the cube in his hands. "It's inviting us," he said. Kira frowned. "Or luring us." Mara studied the opening. She sensed no threat, only purpose. "If there are answers down there, we need them," she said. "But we move carefully." She addressed the colonists. "Stay here until we return. Kira, you're with me. Dr. Torin, bring your artifact." Leon hesitated, clutching the cube. "You're sure we should go inside?" Mara met his gaze. "If we don't, the Zarin will. And they won't ask permission." The three of them descended the stairs. The air grew cooler, and the glow from the walls cast soft shadows. The steps led to a wide chamber lined with smooth pillars, each carved with markings that pulsed faintly. At the center stood a platform shaped like a flower with 4 petals. In its middle lay a shallow bowl of crystal, half filled with a clear liquid that shimmered with blue light. "This feels sacred," Kira whispered. Leon set the cube on the platform. At once the markings brightened and lines of light ran from the cube into the walls. The chamber hummed, a voice not in any known tongue but clear in their minds spoke. It was deep and calm, carrying weight beyond years. "Guardians awaken. Threat detected. Sanctuary protocol active." Mara straightened. "It's talking to us." Leon's hands trembled. "It calls itself a Guardian. Sanctuary. This planet is protected." The voice continued. "Intruders must depart. Natives may remain if balance kept." Mara exchanged a look with Kira. "By intruders, it means the Zarin. And maybe us if we act like them," Kira added. Outside, Zarin soldiers regrouped. Some argued about retreat, but their commander urged them on. They brought heavier weapons to bear, aiming at the Guardians surrounding the fissure. The serpent-like Guardian slid closer, its scales clinking softly. A low warning tone vibrated the air. The soldiers hesitated but did not back down. Karvek's order crackled through their communicators. "Test its limits. Fire again." Bright streams of energy lashed out, striking the Serpent Guardian. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the creature's scales flashed. A burst of controlled force swept forward, knocking weapons from Zarin hands without harming their bodies. The soldiers stared, shaken. The Guardians were not killing. They were defending. In the chamber below, the voice changed. "Violence against Sanctuary is forbidden. Trespassers risk judgment," Mara frowned. "Judgment?" Leon translated carefully. "I think it means they can remove threats. Permanently." Kira's knuckles whitened on her rifle. "How do we convince it we're not a threat?" Leanne lifted the cube and spoke to the air. "We are not here to destroy. We came to protect our people. Please see us as allies." Light swirled inside the cube. The voice softened. "Intent accepted. Humans may remain under guardianship." Mara let out a slow breath. They had earned a measure of trust, but only that. Up in orbit, the Resolute tracked strange signals from the Guardians. Darren reported to the bridge crew. "They're exchanging data at a speed we can't decode. Almost like they're planning something." The communications officer added, "Zarin ships are charging weapons again. Admiral Karvek doesn't seem to be giving up." Captain Vey's voice came over the channel. "Tell command that the Guardians are real, intelligent, and on our side for now. If the Zarin open fire, they'll regret it." As sunlight brightened the plains, more details of the Guardians became clear. Their bodies were a fusion of stone, metal, and living tissue that glowed softly beneath the surface. Their eyes, or what looked like eyes, shone with quiet purpose. The tallest Guardian bent slightly toward the humans waiting near the ridge. It extended a limb, resting it gently on the ground. A thin bridge of crystal formed, connecting the ridge to the Guardian's side. "It wants us to cross," Kira said. Mara nodded. "Stay calm." She guided the colonists carefully over the bridge. The Guardian allowed them to gather in a protected hollow at its base, shielding them from the Zarin. The humans felt small under its presence, but also strangely safe. Admiral Karvek grew restless. "Fire on the structures beneath them," he ordered. Destroy their nest. Cannons on Zarin ships lit the sky. But before the blast could land, beams of blue light leapt from the Guardians. They met the shots mid-air, dissolving them into harmless sparks. The display left the battlefield silent. They can stop heavy fire, Kira murmured, awed. Mara kept her face calm. Then the Zarin just learned they don't rule here. In the chamber, the voice spoke again. Defense protocols escalate if intrusion persists. Request speak with Council. Council? Leon asked. Council of Keepers, the voice replied. Awaken only if balanced. The plains of Illyria trembled under a new sunrise. Mist curled around the feet of the Guardians, giant protectors standing like statues, their glowing markings steady. Above, Zarin ships hovered, dark against the pale sky, their weapons warming to life. Captain Mara Vey stood near the largest Guardian, her hand resting on its smooth surface. She felt a quiet vibration like a heartbeat inside stone. Dr. Leon Torrin stood beside her, clutching the cube. Its light flickered gently as if matching the Guardian's pulse. Kira scanned the horizon, her rifle ready, though she doubted it could help against either side. Admiral Karvik won't back down, Mara said softly. He thinks strength will win this. Leon looked up at the towering forms surrounding them. He doesn't understand what he's challenging. Maybe we don't either, Kira added. Mara nodded. But we know one thing. The Guardians don't want war, but they'll fight if forced. Above the planet, Admiral Karvik paced the bridge of Vral's edge. Pride and frustration burned inside him. The Guardians had humiliated his soldiers, repelling their shots as if brushing aside dust. If he allowed this to stand, the Dominion's reputation would suffer. Status of heavy batteries? He demanded. Charged and ready, an officer replied. Target the structures beneath the creatures, Karvik ordered. If we destroy their roots, their bodies will fall. Another officer hesitated. Admiral, sensors still cannot confirm what lies under them. Firing might trigger something. Karvik's spine stiffened. They already challenge us. I will not retreat from statues. He raised a clawed hand. Fire. From orbit, lances of yellow light streaked toward the planes. They split the air with a hiss, heading straight for the Guardians' base. The Guardians reacted as one. Blue-white beams burst from their bodies, meeting the shots mid-air. Sparks exploded across the sky, turning deadly fire into harmless light. The Guardians stood unshaken, their hum louder now, vibrating through the ground. Mara shielded her eyes, watching in awe. They blocked everything. Kira exhaled slowly. They didn't even move. Leon frowned at the cube. They're sending a message. Stop or face more. The Zarin fleet did not stop. Smaller attack ships dived through the atmosphere, weapons glowing. They swept toward the Guardians and the human survivors hiding under their protection. The tallest Guardian raised an arm. A field of translucent light expanded from its body, forming a dome over the humans. The air inside grew calm, untouched by the rush of fighters overhead. The ship's blasts struck the dome and bounced away, scattering harmless sparks. Mara looked around at the safety surrounding them. They're protecting us. Not the Zarin, Kira said grimly. Outside the dome, the serpent-like Guardian uncoiled. It slid forward, its scales shimmering like ripples on water. With a swift motion, it swept its tail across the ground, knocking enemy dropships away without destroying them. The ship spun out of control but landed intact, their pilots scrambling out in confusion. They don't want to kill, Leon said. They're defenders, not destroyers. Let's hope the Zarin see that, Mara replied. Inside the tunnel beneath the planes, more of the council chamber revealed itself as the walls brightened. A set of crystal-like pillars rose from the floor, forming a circle around a platform. Faint images floated in the air. Star maps, swirling lines, and pictures of different worlds. The voice of the Guardians echoed through the space, calm and powerful. Sanctuary threatened. Aggression endangers balance. Decision escalate defense. Mara looked at the hovering lights. Escalate how? The voice answered. Warn, repel, remove if required. Kira's face paled. They mean they'll destroy if the Zarin don't stop. Leon stepped forward, speaking firmly. Please, hold them back if you can, but don't destroy unless you must. There are people on those ships who don't even know why this war started. The voice softened slightly. Understand request. Guardians will act with care. Back above Illyria, Admiral Karvik received reports of failed strikes. He stared at the images of shimmering shields and graceful titans. These creatures dare defy the Dominion, he growled. All ships form attack line. We break their wall with concentrated fire. His crew hesitated. Admiral, if they retaliate, we could lose everything. Then fight harder, Karvik snapped. The fleet moved closer, arranging in a wide arc. Their weapons brightened, charging for a massive strike. On the ground, the Guardians changed stance. One raised its long crystal wings, scattering beams of light. Another crouched low, energy pulsing along its limbs. The Serpent Guardian hissed softly, though the sound felt more like a warning than anger. Mara felt the tremor under her boots. They're preparing, she said. Leon tightened his grip on the cube. They don't want to harm anyone, but if the Zaren cross the line, they will. Kira's gaze flicked between the sky and the Guardians. I don't think we want to see what happens after that. The Zaren fleet opened fire. Dozens of golden blasts rained down, striking the Guardians' shields. Waves of light rippled across the dome. The ground shook from the force, though the dome held. The largest Guardian lifted both arms. Streams of blue energy gathered at its fingertips, coiling like water about to burst. With a sweeping motion, it released the power upward. A single wave of light surged into the sky, harmlessly pushing enemy ships back, forcing them to regain control. The ships reeled but remained intact. Only their weapons flickered and went dark. They disabled them, Kira said, amazed. Not a single ship destroyed, Mara smiled faintly. They're still giving a chance. But Karvik mistook the restraint for weakness. Focus on the planet, he roared. Crush their home. The Guardian's lights changed, turning sharper, more intense. The hum deepened until it became a steady thrum across the plains. From beneath the earth, new shapes rose, smaller Guardians, sleek and fast. They flowed out like living rivers of silver, racing across the ground. They reached enemy landing craft and surrounded them, creating glowing cages. Zaren soldiers found themselves trapped inside rings of light, unharmed but unable to move. It's over for the ground teams, Kira said. Unless Karvik decides they're expendable, Mara replied grimly. The Resolute, still in orbit, tracked the standoff. Darren reported, the Guardians have neutralized almost every ground force. Energy levels suggest they could strike the fleet next, the communications officer added. We're receiving signals from the surface. Captain Vey wants a channel to the Zaren flagship. Patch her through, said Commander Jalen, who was holding the bridge while Mara remained planetside. Mara's voice came across the Zaren flagship's speakers, calm but firm. Admiral Karvik, this is Captain Mara Vey of the United Earthship Resolute. Stop your assault. The Guardians don't want destruction, but they will defend this world. Karvik sneered. You think I fear your rocks and lights? This planet belongs to whoever claims it. Then you're about to lose more than a claim, Mara replied. You're risking your ships and your people. I will not yield to myths. Karvik barked. He signaled for another attack. Before the fleet could fire, the Guardians answered. The Serpent Guardian raised its head to the sky, releasing a sound like wind through mountains. The other Guardians joined, forming a deep chorus. Their bodies flared with light, brighter than the morning sun. Bolts of gentle force leapt into space, touching the Zaren ships without breaking them. Systems flickered. Engines powered down. Weapons shut off completely. The entire fleet drifted, harmless as leaves on a stream. On the bridge of Rail's Edge, alarms blared as crew scrambled to regain control. Karvik slammed a clawed fist onto the console, but nothing responded. They've disabled us, an officer said quietly. Karvik's pride trembled under the weight of the truth. On the ground, the humans watched the sky clear of danger. Leon exhaled in relief. They stopped the fight. For now, Mara said. She turned to the Guardians. But what about Karvik? He won't accept this. The voice from the council chamber echoed again, soft but firm. Intrusion neutralized. Warning delivered. Further harm will bring judgment. Leon translated. They're saying this was the last warning. Kira shook her head. If Karvik tries again, they'll have no reason to hold back. Mara stepped closer to the council platform inside the tunnel. Guardians, she said, speaking clearly. Humanity did not come here to break your sanctuary. We came to build homes, to live in peace. The Zaren struck first, but not all of them deserve destruction. If you must defend, please spare those who stand down. The lights pulsed slowly like a thoughtful breath. Request heard. Compassion valued. Defense calibrated. Leanne smiled faintly. They listen, Mara nodded. Good. Then maybe we can find an end without more harm. High above, Karvek finally spoke again to his crew. Withdraw. For now, he muttered, though his voice held anger. The Dominion will not forget this insult. His ships limped away from Illyria's orbit, drifting to a safe distance where they could repair systems. But Karvek's eyes burned. He was not done. At sunset, the plains lay quiet. Jaren soldiers still trapped in cages of light were released one by one. The Guardians let them retreat unharmed, sending a clear message: leave and you live. The humans gathered near the largest Guardian. Its glow had softened and it regarded them calmly. We owe them everything, Kira said. We also owe them respect, Mara replied. They're not ours to command. They're here to keep balance. Leon touched the cube lightly. They've been waiting for someone to remember that. The morning after the battle was quiet. A pale sun rose over Illyria, casting gold across the plains. Mist drifted between the stone ridges and the still forms of the Guardians. They stood like living mountains, their lights soft, no longer blazing as they had during the fight. Captain Mara Vey climbed a low hill to see the land more clearly. Below, the colonists were gathering supplies from the ruins, moving carefully among the fallen stones. The Zarin soldiers who had been caught in cages of light were gone, released and taken back to their ships. Only the humans remained under the Guardian's watch. Dr. Leon Torin joined Mara, holding the glowing cube against his chest. Kira walked with them, scanning the horizon with her rifle, though she knew there was little she could do against power so vast. They saved us, Leon said quietly, and they saved the Zarin too, even when they didn't deserve mercy. That was their warning, Mara replied. But warnings don't last forever. Kira looked at the sky where the Zarin fleet floated at a distance, silent after their defeat. Do you think they'll come back? Mara studied the horizon. Yes, Karvek won't forget what happened. Pride doesn't let him walk away. Leon glanced at the cube. Its light pulsed slowly as though waiting. The Guardians asked us to speak with their council, he said. Maybe we should finish what we started. The three of them entered the tunnel once again. The air inside was cool, carrying the faint scent of rain and stone. They followed the winding passage until it opened into the great chamber they had seen before. Crystal pillars glowed softly, and the platform at the center waited, surrounded by calm light. Images of stars shimmered above, slowly turning like a map of the galaxy. The deep voice of the Guardians filled the chamber, smooth and steady. Balance restored, but danger remains. Speak your purpose, children of the sky. Mara stepped forward. We came to this planet to build homes. We didn't know you were here. The Zarin followed, and they attacked us. We fought to survive. The light above the platform rippled gently. We know. We watched while you planted roots. We hoped peace would hold. But war arrived, and Sanctuary was wounded. Kira looked up at the floating images. Can peace still hold? The voice replied, only if all respect this ground. Sanctuary is older than your nations. Older than your stars. Leon held up the cube. Why did you make this? Why give us a way to speak with you? To guide, said the voice. Long ago, we guarded many worlds. We gave tools to those who might listen. Few learned. Many fought until silence claimed them. Mara felt a weight in those words, like echoes of forgotten tragedies. You don't want that to happen again, correct? Life is meant to grow, not destroy itself. Outside, the Guardians shifted slightly as though aware of the meeting below. Their lights flickered like heartbeats. On the far side of the plain, the Zarin fleet stirred. A shuttle detached from Vrail's edge and descended carefully. Kira caught sight of it on her wrist display. A ship's landing. Not an attack, maybe a messenger. Or Karvek himself, Mara said. The shuttle touched down near the fissure. From it emerged a tall figure in dark armor. Admiral Karvek. He walked with stiff steps, pride wounded but not broken. Two guards followed, though their weapons stayed lowered. The Guardians watched but made no move. Karvek stopped before the largest Guardian and looked up at its massive head. For the first time, his voice carried something besides command. I come to speak, he said. The Guardian lowered its gaze but did not reply. Instead, a beam of soft light shone from its chest, pointing toward the tunnel. Karvek frowned but followed, disappearing into the shadows with his escorts. Inside the chamber, The Jaren Admiral arrived to find Mara, Leon, and Kira standing on the platform. He paused, scanning the walls of light and stone. His voice was steady, though his claws tightened at his sides. "So," he said, "this is where your creatures hide." "They're not hiding," Mara said calmly. "They're waiting for us to decide how to live." Karvek looked at the swirling star map, then at the cube in Leon's hands. "You think they are wiser than us?" "They're older than both our peoples," Leon said. "They know what happens when war spreads." The Guardian's voice rose again, filling every corner. "Jaren leader. Human leader, hear this. This world is sanctuary. Those who dwell here must keep peace or leave. No army may claim it," Karvek bristled. "This planet lies within open space. It belongs to whoever holds it." The voice replied, patient but firm. "Sanctuary belongs to itself. Life here is under our care. We will defend it, but we invite harmony." Mara turned to Karvek. "You saw what they can do. They don't want to harm anyone, but they will defend this place. Do you want to risk your fleet again?" Karvek's jaw tightened. He looked down at the floor, then at the Guardian's image above the platform. For a long moment he said nothing. Finally he let out a slow breath. "I will not waste my soldiers. But my people need resources. They need land. Work with us," Mara offered. "We can build a treaty. Share what Illyria offers without fighting." Karvek hesitated. He had spent his life conquering, not sharing. But the Guardian's silent power reminded him that some forces could not be ruled by pride. The Guardian spoke again. "Agreement possible. Humans and Zarin may stay under guidance. Take only what you need. Build with respect. Bring no weapons of war. Break this and sanctuary ends." Leon nodded eagerly. "We can follow that." Kira gave a half smile. "As long as both sides keep their word." Karvek's gaze flicked to Mara. "If your people violate this promise, they will answer to me." Mara met his eyes. "And if yours do, they'll answer to the Guardians." The Admiral's spines twitched, but he gave a single curt nod. Outside, the Guardians shifted to form a circle, enclosing the humans and Jaren standing on the plain. Their lights brightened, casting warmth instead of warning. The largest Guardian lowered a hand, palm open like an invitation. Mara stepped forward. "We accept your terms," she said. Karvek followed reluctantly, placing his claw beside her hand on the glowing surface. Leon rested the cube there as well. Light rose from the Guardian's palm, wrapping around them like a gentle breeze. The voice spoke once more. "Balance begins with choice. You have chosen peace. Keep it, and Illyria will welcome you." When the light faded, the Guardians slowly returned to stillness. Their light softened to quiet stars across their bodies. The air felt calmer, as if the planet itself had taken a deep breath. Karvek turned to leave, his cloak brushing the stone. Before boarding his shuttle, he looked back at the largest Guardian. For the first time, respect flickered in his eyes. Mara watched him go, then turned to her team. "This isn't the end," she said. "It's the start of something new." Leon smiled faintly. "A chance to prove we deserve their trust." Kira lowered her rifle and looked at the horizon. "We'd better work hard." "I don't think the Guardians give second chances." Days passed. Humans began rebuilding their settlement, this time with care for the land around them. They cleared debris without cutting living roots or damaging the stone ridges. Children watched the Guardians from safe distances, waving shyly when the giants shifted slightly, as if acknowledging them. Jaren engineers set up small camps farther out, gathering minerals carefully under the Watcher's calm gaze. Karvek sent strict orders to avoid disturbance. His soldiers obeyed, still wary of the silent protectors. The Guardians stayed near, silent but present. Their bodies glowed faintly at night, casting soft halos over the fields. One evening, Mara, Leon, and Kira climbed the hill again. They looked down at the valley where lights from both camps twinkled like stars. Above, the sky spread wide, filled with constellations none of them had names for. Leon held the cube, now dim but warm. They said balance begins with choice. "I think we made the right one." Mara nodded. "It's up to us to keep it." Kira grinned faintly. "At least we have some very big friends watching." Far away, Admiral Karvek stood at the edge of his ship's viewing deck. He looked down at the peaceful world below. Pride still lived in him, but another feeling had joined it: understanding. He realized that strength was not always in force. Sometimes it was in restraint. He gave a quiet order to his crew. "Hold position. Let them build. We will learn too." That night, as stars filled the sky, the Guardian stirred once more. not in warning, but in quiet recognition of the fragile peace born that day. Their light shimmered across the plain like gentle beacons, promising safety as long as balance remained. And so Illyria stood, no longer only a battleground but a shared home, protected by ancient watchers and the hard-earned wisdom of those who had almost lost everything. The story of guardians, humans and Zarin had only begun, but its first chapter ended in calm. Peace was fragile yet possible, as long as respect guided every step.